Hey, good morning, FCF. We are starting a 6-day journey, 2 weeks, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of each week. And we're going to be looking at a subject. It's going to sound a little unusual. You might not be real excited about it initially, but hang in there. I'm calling it spiritual dejection. And the word dejection, you may not be exactly familiar with it. It's kind of like despondency or discouragement. But this isn't going to be a series that will cause you to be depressed. I mean, that's not it at all. We're going to look at a lot of different kinds of situations. But the point of it is this. We do typically go through periods of spiritual dejection in our journey with Christ and in our journey with life. I mean, I'll be honest with you, even somebody that's rejected Christ, they're going to still go through periods of spiritual dejection. They don't know what to call it, but they're going to experience it in any case. So we're going to spend our time in the Old Testament, and I'm going to start you today in the book of 1 Samuel, and when you know it, I'm not there, 1 Samuel chapter 15, and we're going to look at the first king of Israel, who was king for about 40 years, albeit he was only effective for about 15 of those years, and then he was rejected by God, and his name was King Saul. He's the only guy that got a job by being the tallest guy in the crowd, by the way. You'll have to read 1 Samuel to know what I'm talking about. Anyway, 1 Samuel chapter 15, and I'll give you a little background. What had happened was he had received orders from the Lord to go to war against the Amalekites. The Amalekites were extraordinarily evil. They were one of those Canaanite tribal bands that had not been completely driven out. And again, these Canaanite tribes, they practiced all kinds of horrific religious rituals. I mean, things that we would recognize today as Satanism, you know, child sacrifice, all kinds of things. God had given them hundreds of years to repent. They did not. So now he was using Israel to judge them, to literally just move them off the face of the earth. It is God's right and prerogative to judge any of us at any time in any way that he chooses. He's usually extraordinarily patient and gentle, but there are times when he steps in and takes dramatic action. Generally speaking, that's because we, or in this case they, the Amalekites, become such a danger to others that drastic action needs to be taken. So anyway, Saul gets this, King Saul, first king of Israel, he gets his orders. You go and you wipe them out. Don't leave anything. And he even tells King Saul, he says, look, these people are so bad, I don't even want you to take any of the normal spoils of war. Have nothing to do with any of the things that these people have. You're kind of making a statement, Saul, that these people are bad to the bone. You don't want anything to do with them or anything they have. So he goes, he fights against the Amalekites, and he wins the battle against them. But under the a little bit of goading perhaps from his own generals and officers, there was a lot of good spoil. You know, there was a lot of cattle, there were other things. And so he allows this stuff to be kept under the guise that, oh, we're going to take this good stuff, the good spoil, and we're going to offer it to the Lord. But each of the commanders and all knew that they would get the first choice at this stuff too. So it was a common thing to do. To the victor belong the spoils. We know that saying. But God had said very specifically, no, don't take anything from these people. Wipe the face and the memory of them off the planet. They were that bad. He doesn't do it. So Samuel the prophet comes to him, and I'll pick up reading now 1 Samuel chapter 15, and let's start in verse 23. Well, I'm going to start in verse 22. Samuel replied, because this is where Saul is explaining to him why he didn't obey the Lord completely. Actually, I should start you in verse 20. He says, but I did obey the Lord. This is Saul said. Saul said, I went on the mission as the Lord assigned me. I completely destroyed the Amalekites, and I brought back Agag, their king, saved him too. The soldiers took sheep and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God at Gilgal. But Samuel, this is Samuel the prophet, he replied, does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the voice of the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. Now, this is the jolt. And I said this series is about spiritual rejection, and I should have started with the title. The title is, I Can't Believe It's Gone. Now, we've all had those experiences in life where we had something, it was of great value, but we kind of started getting used to it and we took it for granted. It is a terrible part of human nature. Saul's gifting from God to be the king, the leader of the people of God, he took it for granted and he got casual about the importance of obeying God, and it was not until it was gone that the jolt hits him. So Samuel gives him the bad news. He says, because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned. I have violated the Lord's commands and your instructions. I was afraid of the people, so I gave in to them. I beg you, forgive my sin and come back with me so that I may worship the Lord. But Samuel said to him, I will not go back with you. You've rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel. Now, this was about 15 years into Saul's reign as king. He would go on to reign, though, and this shows the mercy and the patience of God. He would go on to reign for another 25 years. So God, although he had rejected him as king, he did not instantaneously replace him. He does very shortly thereafter, a year or so after, he raises up David, and David is going to be his replacement, but it will be a long time before that whole transition takes place. So the point for you and I, though, is this, could it be that there's some gift that God has given to us? We at one point in our life recognize, wow, I can't believe God has blessed me with this. But time has come and gone, and we've started to either get so used to it that it seems inconsequential, so that we're taking it for granted, not appreciative of it, not stewarding it or managing it or cherishing it or caring for it as much as it deserved. We've become slack in recognizing this is something God gave me, and I should be handling this in an obedient fashion, the way the Lord would have me to handle it. We don't want to get in this situation that Saul got into where I can't believe that it's gone. Now, probably, the likelihood is that I'm probably talking to somebody that you've had that situation where you were sitting alone in your car or on the edge of your bed, and you shook your head and you said, I can't believe it's gone. It's gone. It's never going to be again. I'm never going to have it again. It's an opportunity. It was a gift, and it's gone. Saul did not handle spiritual dejection well, although he sort of verbally sounded like someone repentant. When you follow the next 25 years of his life, you find that in fact he was not repentant at all. He didn't have a real heart for God. There's no indication that he had a lot of attraction or affection or admiration or trust in God at all. But I don't think that of anyone that's listening to this broadcast. So if you have gone through one of those, I can't believe it's gone, or maybe you're going through one now, that's the time to draw near to God with all your heart, and use that energy, use the traumatic energy to draw near to God, not to turn away from God. That's a real temptation at such times. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.